Hi everybody, I'm Mindy Thomas, and this is Career Chat. We air every Monday at 11:30 a.m. and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Social networks are highly important, and they've been researched since the 1930s. And what the surveys have shown is that career changers are finding jobs through acquaintances, friends of friends, simply just about everyone they know. But what we didn't know was down the line, the 8th and 9th people outside the circle, they are also very valuable in helping you to find a job today. I feel very privileged to introduce you to my next guest, who's a subject matter expert. Her name is Sarah Johnston. She is known as the Briefcase Coach. She is a former corporate recruiter who turned into an executive resume writer and career coach, catapulting herself to success right away. She's been featured on ABC, CBS, LinkedIn, all of the publications out there, Inc., and also Business Insider. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Mindy, I am so honored to be here. The highlight of my week is getting to have this conversation with you and help job seekers out there land their next opportunity.
Oh, likewise, I'm very excited you're here. I didn't mention one of your star accolades is Sarah was voted last year as one of the top 5 voices to follow on LinkedIn. Well, you know how many people are on LinkedIn? I'm like, congratulations, Sarah. That's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I have found, I guess, my voice, if you will, writing content on LinkedIn, and just honored that I can inspire people and help people find jobs through what I write.
Terrific. Your business, you're based out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I know that you work nationwide, probably on a global basis as well, working with college students all the way up to the C-suite. Mm-hmm. And primarily, you are writing the resumes and doing interview coaching, as well as what else?
Job search strategy, which is what I think we're going to talk about today, and what I'm most passionate about, is helping people think strategically through their job search, so that the very first thing that they do isn't just launch on the job boards and apply for hundreds of jobs and feel like their resume is going into an ATS black hole, but really to take that step back and assess who they are and the value that they can bring to an organization and what their secret sauce is, and then how to attack a job search strategically so they get greater results.
Before we jump into that, I would really like to understand how you found your voice and passion as a corporate recruiter. You were recruiting for a living, and obviously, I mean, I was a recruiter. I remember moving the words all around. I just loved finessing the words and moving them and making them look better, sound better, and communicate the best message possible. What kind of recruiter were you back in the day, and what made you move to be opening up your own shop?
Yeah. So most recently, I was a healthcare recruiter. I worked for the largest children's hospital in the country, and loved the work that I did. It was very meaningful, and I'd worked for other companies and had recruited other industries as well. But I loved the work I did, but realized, one, I had a passion to help job seekers. I noticed that job seekers, commonly made mistakes that prevented them from getting jobs. Really great candidates were getting passed over because they didn't know how to sell themselves or position themselves. And I wanted to be able to work with people on that one-on-one basis. And then 2, I've always really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to work for myself, and getting to be a business owner, the Briefcase Coach, was a lifelong passion of mine, and it's been a lot of fun.
How did you come up with the name Briefcase Coach?
It was by luck. My husband and I were drinking a glass of wine one night, talking about the type of work that I wanted to do. And, when you're on GoDaddy searching for names that are still available, .coms that are still available, you might have a list of 100, and we kind of took it down from there, and Briefcase Coach just made the most sense. And now that it's mine, and now that I've owned it, it really fits, because a briefcase is a tool that you take with you that helps you keep things together, that helps you position for that next opportunity, that helps you stand out. And I'm a tool for job seekers as well. I help them stand out, and I help them be better positioned. And so, it's not essential to have a briefcase. It's not essential to work with someone like me, but I think it can really be the differential.
It's really a catchy name, no doubt.
Thank you.
Let's get right to this subject of social networks. And Mark Granovetter, who is an American sociologist, a Stanford professor, he did tremendous research in the area of social networking. Can you tell us a little bit more about his work and how important it is for the job hunters to really exercise some proactive, if you will, execute on this, because without it, they're really going to have a tough time in these economic times.
Yeah. So when we were kind of discussing last week what we could talk about, this was a subject that I'm really passionate about. And the reason is I often see, as we just mentioned, job seekers launching straight to the job boards. And they start applying for jobs online, and they get really frustrated by the fact that they're not hearing from companies. Companies on average get 250 applicants per position for a corporate role.
Yeah.
And so as a job seeker, especially in these hard economic times where there's a higher than average unemployment rate, you have to do something different to stand out. Mark Granovetter was a Stanford researcher, and he did a lot of look into social networks. And this was back in the 70s, and did this study. And he found that, shockingly, it's not the strong ties, the people that you know really, really well. It's often the weaker ties that can be most helpful in a job search. So when I'm talking to job seekers, I think there's a lot of value in coming up with, one, a target company list of all the places that you want to work, all the places that hire people like you for the job that you want to do. But two, mind mapping your network, taking the time to really think through who you know, and from all the different buckets of life that you've known people that you went to college with, people that you worked with in your first job, people that you worked with, vendors from previous jobs, thinking through all of those relationships. Because often, as research shows, and from Mark Granovetter and from my personal relationship with my clients, the people that you think are going to be the most helpful in the job search, the people that you think you can call on, they are often more resistant to pick up the phone. Whereas those weaker ties, those 7 to 8 degree connections, are more willing to introduce you to their connections, are willing to endorse you, and take that extra step on your behalf.
Well, it's interesting. There's an old saying, your net worth is your network.
I love that saying. Absolutely. It only takes one person to change the trajectory of your job search.
And to piggyback on that, Sarah, we look at employers. Employers trust their employees to refer. I mean, look at the referral bonuses that are paid out on an annual basis. Why? Because onboarding someone that's a loser in their eyes, or they got to get rid of, cost just hundreds of thousands of dollars, billions of dollars to companies every year. So I think you agree that the employers do trust people to refer good people to them.
Absolutely. Social proof is so important. Think about it. If you're going to go buy something on Amazon, you're going to buy a $15 phone case, you're probably going to read 5 reviews before you make that purchase.
Yes.
The same goes with hiring. You want to hire someone that someone else endorses, someone that you trust. If they endorse them, you're more likely to take a chance on them. So social proof matters, which is why, as a job seeker, you have to leverage your network. The latest stats show 40 to 60% of people find their job through a referral. And if you look at JobVite's data from last year, a significant number of candidates were hired through employee referrals. Companies are really putting a lot of stock in their employee referral program. They're prioritizing these candidates, and they're even giving bonuses, as you mentioned, to people who make referrals.
So one of the first steps is to paraphrase what you have your clients do is they look at each bucket beginning with the old positions, who they know, current role or past roles, who they know from their church, who they know from their social life, right?
Oh yeah, who you know from your kid's soccer team. I mean, you cannot overlook the value of the relationships that you make through your kids, through your parents' friends. These relationships all matter, and often are people that you wouldn't consider when you're job searching. But you never know if somebody from your kid's soccer team is the executive vice president of one of the companies on your target company list. And these are people who know you and can vouch for your character.
So what do you do with the list after you compile the list?
After you've compiled the list, it's important to also make that target company list as well, of places that you also want to work. So the key is help people help you. Start setting up informational interviews. Maybe you can start with your warmer contacts first, your biggest fans, the people who know you, your champion circle, and go to them and say, hey, Joe, I'm launching a job search and you're someone that I've always valued. You've always given me really good advice. So kind of prop them up a little bit and say, I'm looking to make a career change, and here's a list of my target companies. So bring to them maybe a condensed list of your target companies. Do you know anybody at this list of companies? Do you know anybody that I should be having a conversation with? What do you know about this company? Do you like this company? How do you feel like they're doing profit-wise, or do you feel like they're successful? Who else should I be talking to? And then take that target company list a step further and look up who would be your boss on LinkedIn. Figure out who you'd potentially report to if you had the job that you want to have. And you could go to your network and say, do you know this person? Could you help me get an introduction to that person? And so it's all about getting decision maker conversations. You leverage the network you have to get decision maker conversations at your target company list.
That's great advice. Great advice. So what about target companies? How do you know what companies to target? How do you find those companies? Are you Googling who are the best companies to work for in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or Philadelphia? What do you think about that?
This is an often overlooked step. I always ask job seekers, so do you have a target list of companies? And people say, oh yeah, I have like 5 or 6 companies that I want to work for. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the news. You're not fishing in a big enough pond. You really need to have a list of 25 to 35 target companies. To build out that big of a list, you got to do what you mentioned. You have to Google best companies to work in Chapel Hill or whatever your area is. Look at those companies. Fastest growing, whatever your industry is. Maybe you're a CPG, consumer product good company, fastest growing CPG companies. Maybe you look on LinkedIn at people who are working at some of your target companies that you already know about and where they worked before. So kind of work backwards, see where people worked before. If you're interested in a startup, you could go to venture capital firms that back companies in your area. So maybe venture capital firms that fund CPG companies, and see who's in their portfolio to see if there's any companies that could potentially be on your list that way. You could go to Chamber of Commerce websites, look on their websites to see who's active and engaged. That could also help you create that list. On average, my clients spend about 20 hours building out that target company list. And if you really take the time to do a deep dive, research your options, you're going to have a lot more success because you don't want to overlook a company that could be potentially a really great fit for you.
That is super advice. Listen, we have to take a short break. We're going to be right back to continue the conversation and look at what should people that are employed right now, what should they be doing? We'll be right back.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Career Chat. We are with Sarah Johnston, also known as the Briefcase Coach. She is talking with us today about what we should be doing if we're employed right now or unemployed. So Sarah, let's talk about some things that people that are employed right now, I mean, everybody's a little bit worried, even if you have a job. What should they be doing right now to ensure that they're ready?
I'm going to borrow the words of another career coach I respect, Diana Chan. And she says, everyone right now in these uncertain times should be following their ABCs. Always be connecting. If you have a job right now, you should make it your goal to try to connect with one new person every day, because it's the relationships, as we discussed, that are going to help you land your next job. It would also be smart to update your LinkedIn, make sure that it's keyword optimized so that someone could find you if they were looking for someone with your skill set, and brush off your resume. You know, as we were talking between during the break, right now you and I are hearing from people who've had job security for most of their career, and they're job searching for the very first time, maybe in 20 years. And so if that's you, and you haven't had to launch a job search, the resume has changed. It looks very different today than it did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so if you aren't fully invested in a job search now's the best time to get ready and get your documents in order.
Great advice. I mean, I love, one of my favorite career coaches is Carrie Hannon, who targets the boomers out there. And last week I saw a quote that went like this: networking is one letter away from not working. And it just I just thought, wow, that really says it all. So it is important to keep those connections going. The resume, is there anything new that's come in that you could talk to? I mean, we always talk about using the action verbs for the achievements, not putting on the addresses, but putting on the city, state, and zip code, right? Having the LinkedIn URL right on the resume. Are there any other little tips right now that are coming out that people are including?
Yeah. You know, there was a study done by the ladders.com a couple of years ago, and I like to remind people of this study. It was a heat map of recruiters and how they read resumes. And the study found that on average, recruiters spend between 6 and 7.2 seconds scanning a resume before deciding if they wanted to continue looking at the document or stop looking at it. And some of the key takeaways from the study is having a header at the top of the document that tells who you are and the value that you can bring to the organization helps immediately give the recruiter, the person reading your resume, some context for who you are. Also using keywords in an executive summary section at the top that align with the job description. So even borrowing phrases from the job description and using them in your executive summary can spoon feed the reader more of your value that aligns with that role. The more you can target and tailor your resume for the exact job, the better for that keyword match. And then finally, using light design elements like bolding, shading, some white space can help draw the eyes to the text and help your resume be more readable.
I love all those tips, and you and I were both recruiters back in the day, and the way I look at this is I don't want my recruiter to have to read the entire resume front and back to figure out who my client is. We want to get it right away. You don't have much time, so let's get right to it. Put that branding message in right up front, maybe that little summary, expertise, boom, and really sell to that job posting. I've always said I read the job postings like they're my recipes, line by line, word by word. So we're always customizing. That's incredibly important to make sure that you're customizing your documents, whether it's the LinkedIn narrative or the skill sets in LinkedIn against the resume, and certainly the cover letters. Let's talk about cover letters for a second. 50% of the recruiters read them, 50% don't. When I was a legal recruiter, if they didn't have a cover letter, I really kind of shook my head like, gosh, you didn't have enough time, just send me a little letter. What do you think?
I think they can be a key factor for some hiring managers. If you know 50% read it and want to see it, then you better send one. Especially if you're a career changer, or you've been laid off, or you're making a big pivot. This is where you can use this space to tell your story. You also want to make sure that you're aligning your passion with the pain points of the job. The person reading the cover letter wants to see that you actually care about this particular position and you're not just blind applying to 100 jobs.
You know, one of the mistakes that job hunters make is as soon as they get laid off, oh, I got to get my resume done, and they start calling. And you say, well, what would you like to do? What is your target? And I'll do anything. I will do anything, Sarah. What's your response?
Marketing 101 is know your target audience and know what they care about. And so as a job seeker, it can be really tempting to try to be all things to all people, and to try to create a one-size-fits-all resume, or to try to go after 50 different opportunities. But the thing is you're doing yourself a disservice, because hiring managers want to hire someone who's a perfect fit for their job. They want to hire someone who really deeply cares about the organization and the mission and the work that they do. And the only way that you're going to get their attention is if you convey that message. But if you convey that you care about all things, then you're going to miss out. You're not going to get their attention. So for a job seeker who's feeling frustrated or in the trenches or desperate, that reeks, and it actually turns hiring managers off. So it's very important to be targeted, have a targeted message, and understand your unique value proposition and your special sauce that you bring to an organization.
That's all great. And the fact is that if you write a generic resume, you're not going to get seen. The ATS won't pick you up, and you're going to end up at square one again, being frustrated. So clarity is very important. There's an ultimate success formula out there that my favorite all-time coach, Tony Robbins, it's actually called the Ultimate Success Formula, and there are 4 steps to it. One is clarity is power. Number 2, take action. It's not enough to know what you want. You got to do something about it. Number 3, notice what's working and what's not. And then 4, change your approach till you get what you want. If you are not clear on step 1, you're never going to get to success out here in this economic times. It's funny, I was reviewing a resume this morning, and I was really impressed that someone had actually put in 2 of their bullets that they had contributed to COVID-19 at this particular company, a variety, I forget what it was, but I just saw COVID-19 and I said, this person's on target. You know, they are including their contributions right now. What do you think about that, Sarah? Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, I love that. That was so smart.
That was really like music to my ears, you know.
To innovate.
it was really, fantastic. I was just so, it was the first time I've seen a resume during the last 2 months that actually mentioned COVID-19 and the contributions, right? So what other issues are coming up for your clients right now, given the economic uncertainty? Are people looking to change careers or just get their resumes done and ramp up the search? Or are they looking to get out of industries completely?
I'm seeing both. I'm seeing people whose industries have really taken a hard hit, people from the tourism and travel industry
Yes.
who are having to make a pivot. And what they're doing is they're really looking at the value that they offer and highlighting their transferable skills. And they're looking at other industries where they can apply those transferable skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I am seeing people who are making career pivots because of hard hit industries. I'm also seeing, and I bet you are too, Mindy, with your client work, just people are feeling anxious. They're seeing the unemployment numbers, and even though they may be in a job and they may be very happy in a job, there's some fear and anxiety right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope for people listening that they will walk away from this conversation a little bit less anxious, because when you're anxious, you don't perform at your best. You're not as relatable. It's hard to get breakthrough. And so whatever you can do, focus on like giving up that energy. Maybe that's prayer, maybe that's meditation, maybe that's exercise, whatever you need to do to release that anxiety. I would encourage you to do that right now, because I'm sensing a lot of it in people.
Well, I think that that's great advice. Job clubs, we have to wrap up in just 60 seconds, but what's the importance of joining a job club today?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of job clubs. And if you go to my website, www.briefcasecoach.com, there's a whole section on my website for job clubs. These are free organizations that are community sponsored that give you job search news, help you find new community, help you get matched with other people in your area that will help you land a job. And I just think that these are lifelines for many job seekers.
It's like phone a friend, right? Well, Sarah, I can't thank you enough for making time for us here at Career Chat and for my audience. This has been a fantastic dialogue with you, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on our show today.
Thank you for the opportunity. This has been wonderful.
You're welcome. And to our viewing audience, especially our medical professionals, our first responders, everyone out there that is really helping the American public get back on your feet. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice. We will be here next week, same time, same place. We look forward to seeing you again on Career Chat.